Greetings. My name is Mike Chisholm. I am the host of heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. Man, I'm happy to be here today. Once again, coming out to the airwaves. It is an exciting time in the life cycle of He Changed It, the culture-changing application that is being built for men's mental health. And the reason that I am the face of it is because I am the husband of the CEO and creator of He Changed It. It is a very fun place to be. Sometimes it's a very stressful place to be when you are the husband of a tech founder who is breaking new ground, creating new technology. But boy, is it ever a fun ride. We're having a lot of fun. We're about 2 weeks into beta testing now. 2 to 3 weeks kind of thing. Getting the nod, yeah. And it's going very, very well. We're excited about where He Changed It is right now, because there was a couple years of research and hard work to get us to the place that we're at right now, where there actually is a beta product in many people's hands. If you would like your hands to be one of those sets that have He Changed It on your device, please go to hechangedit.com. Apple, Android, we will take you both on, and come on into the He Changed It community and give us a beta test. We would love that. Throughout this process, we have a list of people who we wanted to have onto the podcast, and we knew that that list would be interrupted by other people who jumped into the He Changed It world and saw what it is that we were doing, and then they jumped up and down and said, I want to be someone who contributes. And those are going to be friends that we have that do this, and strangers. And we have a friend today. I've known Bib Patel for, I want to say at least a decade, probably even longer. We met working for the same financial firm. And maybe he can tell you his first memory of me. My first memory of him was at a Boston Pizza, which is a franchise up here in Canada, amazing franchise. And we hung out after a corporate event, and we just got to know each other really, really well. And it's one of those relationships where you just get to know somebody, and suddenly, like lightning striking, and you're just forever friends. Bib can go away for a long time, and I don't see him for a long time. And the moment we see each other, it's like no time has passed, and all we do is catch up. Bib Patel, thank you so much for being an early adopter, an alpha consumer, if you will, of He Changed It. Thank you for everything that you're doing to help us build this thing. And thank you for saying that you want to hang out with me on the podcast. This is a good excuse to hang out. Hey, buddy.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for that. But I actually thought I'd be hanging out with Candace. So
I get that a lot.
It's all good. You come a very close second, my friend. It is a pleasure to be any part of this.
Oh, thanks.
I got my heCast.
You got the He Changed It app?
I got the heCast right there.
Yeah.
I'm looking, it's the next thing I'm going to be using. No, this app is amazing. So thank you for the kind words. It's the feeling's mutual. Yeah, we did meet at this financial company, and I remember both you and Candace, I got a promotion, and I called you guys. You weren't affiliated with me or in any way, but I called you guys to let you know I got the promotion, and you guys were cheering. I could just hear you cheering on the phone. Spirits that you lifted in me basically just let me know. Like after that moment, I'm like, anything you guys need help on, I will come running.
My man.
Where we might not always be communicating, but you know, the power of social media, I'm always checking in, and you and I kind of fell bonded over our love of wrestling.
Yes, that's right.
And then it's just been magic since. So privileged to be on here.
I appreciate that. You know, it's cool. I'm glad you mentioned the W word. We haven't on this podcast yet gone into any really of my story or anything like that. It's sometimes little details kind of peel out with our guests, and I think you might be the first one to reference pro wrestling. Yes, I have a. I'm one of those guys that could actually go to a party and they're like, hey, so what do you do? What are some of your hobbies or interests? And I could say, well, I've got a pro wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
And one of two things usually happens. People will just kind of slowly go, oh, yeah, and they'll back away. But you know, if there's 10 people in a room, you'll have 9 of them do that. And then you'll have one person go, wait, what are you talking about? And they'll ask me a bunch of questions about the pro wrestling. So yeah, we've got that in common. And the next time that we have an event, I have a charity professional wrestling promotion that I'm a co-founder of, and the next time we have an event, Bib Patel, you're in the front row.
I
Can't
will
wait
be
for
there.
that. I think one of the reasons why you and I have bonded the way that we have is that both of us really do appreciate our families, and being the best us that we can be. That's something that we've always tried to do, whether it's through personal development, through through a personal conviction or a faith, that kind of a thing. And I think we've always kind of we've always marched to the same drummer in that regard. Would you agree with all that?
Absolutely, 100%. I think you and I, the thing I like about you, because it's a reflection on me to a certain extent, is, the He Changed It app is really kind of changing a norm about male culture as well, right? And before coming on here, it's like, well, what are we going to be talking about? Probably the app and stuff. And one thing that came to my mind is, like, what is the new definition of a man, right? From way back when, and us growing up, and the settings that we were in. I grew up with 2 older brothers.
Yep.
And very loving family. We all super close, but there was that competitiveness, that manliness that had to be there. And I remember it just was so much effort. And the cliches of the alpha male and all that kind of jazz. And then I got into this relationship with this amazing girl who basically just said, just be you. Yeah. And it was a comforting thought. And then surrounding myself with amazing people that let me just be that. I didn't have to, every time we met, arm wrestle.
Yes.
I could be, I can just be who I want to be. I could be somebody who just wanted to put a positive mark, right? Yeah. And with, the side bet of wrestling in there. But that's also come from an upbringing where my brothers and my father and I would bond over wrestling. So
I watched it with my grandpa. My grandpa was the one that got me into it. I'd go over there and hang out with them. And Saturday afternoons, he'd sit down on the couch with me, and we'd watch Stampede Wrestling, and then we'd watch Maple Leaf Wrestling, which was World Wrestling Federation. And you bond over that stuff. And that's what men. I think that many times can be, men's sweet spot. You talk about changing the definition of what it means to be a man. And I don't know that in our lifetime, we're the same age. We're both the double fours. And I don't think in our lifetimes we've ever seen a time where the definition of what a man is has been so, I don't even think contested or it's in motion right now. And I think there are stereotypes when you say changing the definition of what a man is. What does that mean to you? What's off the cuff? What is that? What comes to your mind when you hear that?
So it's not so necessarily even changing it. It's just expanding on it. Because I don't want to say, oh, if you're somebody that's into trucks and, guns and this and that, that's not what a man's about. And
right.
It doesn't matter. It's really just being your truest self. At the end of it, you really just be whoever you want, as long as you're not imposing on someone else to be that person.
Yeah.
Right. So we moved to this wonderful place called the Okanagan a couple of years ago, away from the big city life, to slow down life. And one of the reasons to slow down life was to be more of a family. So for me, being a man is just as much as sitting after work having a beer, as much as it is, playing online, whatever video games my 7-year-old daughter needs to, to cleaning, to doing the housework, to doing what it is to be supportive of our family and be this unit. There's a responsibility in being part of, I don't want to even say a man in that regard, just being part.
Right.
Right. So do I have to do the heavy lifting sometimes? Yes. Right. But
figuratively and literally.
Absolutely. So it's really, you show up to do your part. Now, I'll give you a story. My daughter had to get some dental surgery done. And so me and my wife, I took the day off work. She took the day off work. We took her to the dental surgeon. And these are where kids go in for surgery. So it's kind of a little tense in there, right? My daughter's going to be put under. There was this other couple in there, and their daughter was also going to be having some surgery done, and the mom's trying to talk to the guy, and the guy's like, "Well, this is your thing," and I'm just like, "Hang on here," and he's like, "All you arrange this. All I want to do is go home and sit on the patio and drink beer." And in the back of my head, I'm like, "You jackass!
Right.
Like, are you
Right.
kidding me?" And as macho as it sounded and whatnot, at one time it would be like, "Yeah, that makes sense." That's the change that needs to happen. Is to be a man is you need to stand up.
That's really interesting that you talk about that. You know, we talk about our training in the financial field, and we were always kind of told right from the beginning, hey, if you've got the husband and the wife in front of you, just so you're aware, 95% of advisors will talk to the man and they won't talk to the woman. What you just kind of brought up was sort of something that was sort of flipped on its head. You know, oh, because it's the welfare of the children, they're going to focus on the woman in the equation as opposed to the man. And isn't that an interesting idea that might just kind of sit there below the surface? We don't necessarily think about right off the cuff.
So 100%. I think it's not those lines of she does this, he does that.
Right.
Those have been erased. And if they are still existing and a family's making it work in that regard,
Yeah.
good on you. Right. But it can't be one of those things that it's all decided by one side.
Right.
Right. And so, you asked previously, in my opinion, what is it about, changing the definition of being a man?
Yeah.
It's not. It's just about stepping off the high horse and using it as a title to be able to accomplish. It doesn't, being called a man doesn't make you better than anyone.
Right.
In some circumstances, it makes it a lot harder.
Yeah, it does sometimes. And he changed it. I know you haven't watched all the podcasts or anything, but there's one thing that we're trying to do at He Changed It is not necessarily take back the definition of a man, although we want to flesh that out and see what that means, because it is different for everybody. And we do want to have talk about some of these bigger ideals as to what it could mean, like what you're talking about. The phrase that we have been talking about wanting to take back, there are different cultures and groups that have taken phrases and taken them back. The one that we're trying to take back is the phrase "man up."
Yeah.
Hey, go man up on this. Well, what does man up mean to you? And for us, what we're trying to get across is to bring out the idea of manning up is creating awareness, taking responsibility, and trying to be better, trying to understand where we were, where we are now, where we want to go, and where we are going. And that's really what the new definition of manning up can be. And it doesn't have to do with, some of these connotations, these stereotypical connotations that can come into our heads when we think of that phrase. But manning up can come to almost even a higher purpose, I think. And I do think genetically that does speak to many of us. We're wired that way. When you hear something like that, I think it resonates with a lot of guys.
Yeah. I think you're 100%. And it's a term you almost want to be proud of. So if you can bring it to that realm, right? Whereas before, when you would hear it, it'd just be like, right. It just has such a negative context. It's like, no, I'm not allowed to talk about my feelings.
Right.
I got to man up.
Yeah.
I got to suck it in.
Yeah.
Right. Walk it off.
Right.
Every which way. But it's absolutely something that should be on the forefront.
Yeah.
It's the cliches that were founded on being a guy,
right,
really is what was a detrimental to a lot of lack of success, right? Because I want to talk about something, because I want to be open and honest, it's like, oh, you're going to take my man card away.
Mm-hmm.
So who has that right? Who was given that right to create the title and the definition that they thought it was?
Well, I always go back to just when I look at how women are treated and where they're expected to be, I always go back to the cosmetic industry and the fashion industry and whatnot. Convincing an entire gender that they should look like, have certain dimensions or whatever that 99% of them could never achieve anyway. And I always go back to somebody's trying to sell something. And with the man thing, like what you were just talking about, you say, you know, where does that come from? And I always go back to, oh, maybe somebody's trying to sell somebody something, and that's where it is. But at the end of the day, we got to think bigger than that. One of the things you said as you were explaining, very, very articulate. By the way, you're very smooth. Holy smokes, my goodness.
Careful with that.
You said you played video games with your 7-year-old daughter. That's amazing. What game do you play with her?
So I don't even, I'd like to sit here and go, I don't know, whatever comes up and blah, blah. It's called Roblox.
Uh-huh.
I still learn, it's like a virtual world online. You connect to different worlds. And, all she wanted was to sit there and play with her dad. I go, why don't you play? And she's like, it's not as much fun without someone. I go, okay. So we got on there and she's just like, go do this. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's get this done. Now, it's not, every day, all day. We still have work to do. And I want to have a better rounded life.
Sure.
But, and this isn't on her, this is on me. I stop at painting nails. I haven't got there yet. I get it. It's okay. But it's not something that I'm on there yet. But do we have tea parties? Yep. Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. I taught her how to make real tea. Right?
What?
And so it's all, yeah. Oh yeah. She's going to be a good cook. But, I also have a 17-year-old son. And they both have different needs. So is it that I go, we go back to the cliche where, okay, mom goes and does the tea parties and the dress ups and all that. And then me and my son, we go do the sports and everything of that nature. It's like, how does that even make sense anymore? How did it make sense before? I couldn't function that way. That's not fun. I want to be part of that, of every which way. I want my wife to be part of the sports with my son, right? That's what brings the family together. So doesn't mean you have to be a family to be a man and all that kind of stuff. No, but in my world, that's what it represents to me. And it's up to everyone to define for themselves how to better themselves and better the people around them.
What are some of the ways that people can go and do that? Like, from what I hear you saying is where you and Jody see the passions with your kids and the interests and the needs that are there, you divide them up and you both kind of get involved in all of the things. That's a really, really good way of doing that. I think sometimes that when we think about, what are some of the ways that we can figure out those sweet spots in life? And I think a big part of it is just even asking the question. But so many people are they got their head down and things are spinning and they don't take that time to reflect. And a big theme that has come out so far, and part of it is because I keep talking about it, is awareness. And becoming aware of such things is so important. And I think as guys, again, the way that we're genetically wired sometimes is that awareness shows up. And when it does show up, it serves us well, because then we start questioning things and we start actually paying attention to what we're doing instead of just going through the motions. And I don't know about you, but I see a lot of guys that are in my life that they are just going through the motions. And many times it's not even, they know what they're doing, but they don't know why they're doing it.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of a couple things. Goal, for me, getting back to family. And if you're not in a family, if you don't have kids, and to each their own. But there's two sides of that. One is me constantly developing to be the person I want to become, right? And so that I'm always continuously trying to improve. And that's not saying I'm bad, right? No. I think I'm a decent person, but I still want to keep evolving, right? And evolving to what? I don't know. But I know that I have an idea of what I want people to think of me. And not in a superficial way, but the ones that are near and dear to me. And so, just having something as simple as my own brand statement. Right. Keeps me focused on that, so that you're not doing 100 different things.
So what is that? For those who don't know what that is, can you explain? Can you go into that a little bit? And can you say what it is? Are you sharing it?
Oh, sure. One of my traits is openness, sometimes too much. Brand statement is just basically a phrase to live by. And for me, that's I want everyone that Everyone that comes into my life, every meeting I have, I want to have a positive impact on them. And so us meeting today, hopefully it's a positive impact, right? Does that necessarily mean it's always feel good? No, because if I have to have a conversation with somebody, at my work or whatnot, I want them to be better because of the conversation. Excuse me. Not necessarily just given praise every which way.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. And I think that people take the word positive sometimes and they don't, I think they sometimes pigeonhole it and they think that it might be, because I get accused of this sometimes. I try to have a solution-based mindset at all times, and I try and do it in a happy way. I try and be as happy as possible. Does it mean that everything is happy and I am looking at life through rose-colored glasses? Well, God, no. I, spent the first part of the year in Vancouver because my granddaughter had cancer. My 2-year-old granddaughter had cancer. So no, not everything is roses, but at the end of the day, we can take and try and put a positive spin on every encounter that we have, knowing, and we can finish the encounter, even if it's a negative encounter. We can put the positive mindset to say, hey, look, I want this hard stuff that I'm going through to end up having a positive impact in the end, whatever that looks like, including if I have to eat a plate of whatever for now, but it's a learning experience, so I don't ever have to eat that plate ever again.
Well, I think part of it, you hit it on. So it's not looking at everything through rose-colored glasses. That's the cliche of it. You're understanding the significance of things better. When you go through what you went through, right, and your kids went through, and God love that little girl, what she went through.
Yeah.
Certainly took a lot of other problems that used to seem bigger, made them a lot smaller, didn't it?
Oh, that perspective changed right away. Right away.
So absolutely. So not only is it, my brand statement, but it's also goals and working towards something so that you're not spreading yourself too thin. So and the number one thing, the old cliche of don't try to please everyone, you'll please no one. So, but my goals are my goals, my family's goals are my family goals, and even my wife and our goals are our goals. So there's 3 levels there. So that's plenty to do, but it also keeps us focused, right? And it also allows me, because the way I'm built, I need structure. It allows me to focus on what I needed to get things done. So am I constantly searching to go, what does it mean for me to be more manly? No, right? I'm happy to wake up next to my wife every day. I'm happy my kids are healthy. I'm happy that her and I are both in great jobs and we're able to have food on the table. I'm happy to be part of the community I'm in and serve some purpose. But that's not me just being a man. That's me just being a person and a decent human.
I want to go back to your and you're so articulate in that and explaining it. You've done such a good job of explaining it. For the fellas out there who you talk about these goals and you got 3 levels of goals, and for gentlemen who haven't or not gentlemen for that matter too, any guys that haven't necessarily gone down that path of goal setting, when you talk about 3 levels of that sounds like it could be intimidating. How much time, and do you have a guidebook or a structure that you set up what your goals are for? Are they short, medium, long term? When you talk about these goals, how do you identify them, and do you put time frames to them? What does that mean to you, Bib?
I think I focus on, so it's not levels in terms of level 1, level 2, level 3.
Okay.
It's really just goals that I have personally. Like, for example, I want to improve on my golf game. To do that, I know I'll have to go play more golf or take some lessons or, cheat.
You got to do what you got to do. That's all. You got to do that.
Now, we also have goals as a family, right? What do we want to accomplish this year? And we always talk it about 1 year and maybe 2-year perspectives. And then my wife and I have goals that don't include the kids, right?
Yeah, you do.
And do we have a guidebook or anything? No, because when you complicate things, you don't do it, right? If you have to sit there and go through a 12-step process, chances of you reflecting on it and going through it and reviewing it are going to happen slim to none.
Mhm.
We sit down, and this was actually an idea that some friends of us gave us on New Year's Day. And we look at our goals from previous year and go, okay, what didn't we achieve that we still want to do? What is now irrelevant because the environment has changed? And what do we want to add on to it? And we don't sit here and make a 100 item list. We just have a few things we want to get accomplished. It's important to have that because as much as you want to have goals as a family, you still need you and your wife time. As much as you want to have goals of you and your wife, you still need personal development.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example is we had this recreational property and our neighbors, amazing people. The gentleman started a brewery and his family came over. Yeah. And it's great beer. And we were discussing, they came over for a barbecue and him and I are hanging out at the barbecue as men do.
As men do. Absolutely.
And we're discussing and he's like, I'm stressed. I'm like, why? He's like, the brewery's going, it's, doing really well, but it's this juggling family and work. Yes. I go, yeah, because you have the greatest job a guy could have. Yes. But you don't have the greatest job a family could have. And so I asked him, do you talk to your wife about your guys' goals? Because she stayed at home with their 4 kids. So she's full.
Yes.
Right? I don't know how she does it, and she's amazing. Just an amazing, amazing person. So you're doing all these things, and she's with you. She's got your back. She's supportive of you. What are you supportive of her about? What is she trying to accomplish that she doesn't have time for because you're too busy achieving your goals? Because I pretty much guarantee if you ask her, if you could have a 9-to-5 job that pays decently, or this job, which would she rather you have? Pretty sure the answer is.
Sure.
So that's where the whole balance comes in, right? And it's not spreading yourself too thin as long as you're focused and you don't have too crazy a list. So is it a complicated process? No. Just sit down, grab a piece of paper or a computer and say, how am I going to better myself? And then also, if your significant other is doing the same thing, you better well make sure you're there to support her doing that as well. Everything she wants.
And this communication, it sounds so simple. In many ways, it really, really is that simple. I don't know that we have been taught that, say in high school, and what you're talking about just makes so much sense. It's not an ideological perspective. It's just a communication perspective is really what it is. It's sitting down and kind of doing a little bit of self-reflection and then joining with the people that are important, that are in your sphere, and reflecting together too. I was always taught early on in my, I would say from a personal development standpoint, you divide your life in a quadrant, and there's into 4 quadrants, I should say. I don't know how you divide your life into 1 quadrant. I don't know if you can do that or not, but you got four quadrants, and one of them is your personal goals. One of them is your family goals. So your personal goals would be like your golf game or getting good at a hobby. Whatever family goals might be, we want to travel this year. We want to have a date night every week. Whatever that might be. You've got your spiritual goals. Your spiritual goals or whatever. Sometimes it includes religion. Sometimes it includes different personal development or whatever spiritual means to that particular person. And then you've got your physical body, your physical and if either one of those quadrants ever gets too big or too small, your life goes out of balance. If your personal includes your work life, well, I mean, if you make it all about your work life and your work life becomes that the biggest quadrant, the other 3 suffer, and keeping that balance is really, really important. That's kind of how I do it. And if I need to go back to square one, I kind of look at those 4 areas and think about goals and think about things to look towards. The other thing about having goals, isn't it cool when you aim yourself at something? Like, I know when I leave the house, and I don't have either a destination in mind or a goal for that day in mind, I'm aimless. But if I've been thinking about something that I want to achieve, an opportunity, whatever that is. And if I focus on that opportunity before I leave the house, and one of those opportunities, I happen to walk into it, I recognize it right away. Whereas if I'm aimless, I just wonder how many opportunities kind of buzz by my head um, throughout a day because I'm just unaware.
Yeah. No, you're hands down. And teach their own. I believe in the power of putting it out to the universe. And when you're absolutely certain of something, opportunity will come. When my wife, when Jody and I met, we took our first kind of couples trip out to our lovely Okanagan area here.
Yeah.
We spent a week together, and we kind of set the rules saying if somebody wants to, if we need to spend some time apart and whatnot, great. We didn't spend a moment apart besides bathroom breaks. And I knew it there that I'm happiest when we're hanging out and we're traveling and everything. And on our last day, we went and got a breakfast sandwich, and we found a little spot, this little park that is on the water. We're enjoying our breakfast sandwich, and I look to the right of me, and this old gentleman comes out of the back of his house with the classic Norman Rockwell dog, and he goes with a cup of coffee to start working on this truck, this old school apple truck. And I looked over to my then girlfriend, now wife, and I'm like, I don't know the first thing about fixing a truck, but that's what I want. She goes, yeah, that looks pretty cool. And that was always the vision I had in my head to remind me that we're going to move here at some point.
Right.
Fast forward 8 years, and by circumstance, because we were so focused on it, we went to Belize. This is a real first world problems. And while we were there, it reminded us of the Okanagan, and to the point where my wife was talking about moving. And we both had really great jobs in Calgary where we were. And on the flight back, she was ahead of me with my daughter. I was taking a later flight from Toronto where our layover was. But she's texting me, she's sending me job postings in the Okanagan. And I'm like, hang on, just let me get home. Sure thing, next morning, go to work, get back to Calgary, go to work, I get let go. So I get laid off. And I call her and she's like, you okay? I'm like, no, I just got laid off, downsizing, whatever excuses. And there was not one bit of remorse from her. She's like, I guess we're moving. Sure enough. And that vision came true. So we're in a house that overlooks water, and it's exactly, do I have a truck yet? No, because I got work to do, but sure, a dog, and it's exactly that. So now what happened, Mike, is what's the next thing? Because we had this big, grandiose idea. For so long, it came true. So you can't forget about the next big thing. We have these little projects that we're going, we're talking home improvement, renovation, all these different things. But in the grand scale of it, those are little projects. So now what? And those are the discussions we start having. And is that something that we sit down and have, over a drink or two? Not at all. And for some, it does happen, because it's just like you both spark on the same idea. It's like, well, it has to be. But it comes through discussion saying, what is next for us?
I think that is amazing perspective. I want to, man, if we had more time, we could unpack a lot more of this. The good news about this is that, you're one of the guys that's in the He Changed It app. You're in the community. There are guys who, they would get roadblocked at any number of things that you just discussed if they didn't have some self-awareness. You're coming back from Toronto and you're getting a call from your girl, hey, let's move. Oh, come on, just let me get home. Sometimes that disrupts. You get home, you get laid off. I mean, sometimes that's where the sentence ends for guys, because they're hijacked at that point. And I understand that maybe that happened a little bit at the beginning, but when you put it into the overall narrative, that was a small footnote that actually ended up to you being in a much better place towards what you call the grandiose goal. And with He Changed It, what we've been talking about is how guys are going to be part of this app, and how guys will become vulnerable to each other in this. At the end of the day, we as guys, we want to bring something that we have, and we want to maybe take something that we need. What you have in that, what you just said there, is an incredible mindset. And appreciate so much how you're able to share that so articulately. And I appreciate the fact that you're in the app, because
Yeah.
I think I hear what you just said there, and boy, oh boy, my life does not seem nearly as claustrophobic as it may have before I heard you say that. And you made it sound easy, and it's not necessarily easy. It's not like you haven't gone through struggles. I think about one of the kids and making sure you had that perfect school. And I don't know if you want to go into that or not on this, but
perfectly happy to go.
but as you're coming to the Okanagan, it's not like everything is perfect. You've got struggles to take care of too, right?
I think it's, you say your problems you've had, and I don't want this to sound too horrible, but we're all broken, right? And we're all constantly trying to fix ourselves.
Yeah.
So
hopefully we are.
Well, yeah, right. If you want to create something and leave the world a better place than you found it, you need to do your part. Your app, he changed it. It isn't for me to be on. Like, I didn't go on it going, hey, let me help. I'm wherever you need me, and if I can be, for sure, right? But at the same time, it's just as much for people like me who are always looking, how can I better myself? Sometimes it's as little as seeing an inspirational quote, right, pop up. It's as simple as going, okay, I need to work out. I need to get in better shape. As you say, the way of putting things sounds so simple. Of course it is. So is working out. If I wrote you down how to get in better shape, and we all know, you go to the gym or you start lifting weights, you start running, you'll be in better shape.
Yep.
Why aren't more of us in better shape, right? It's the effort involved in doing it. With the goals and stuff, sometimes you have to go to a dark place and reveal some stuff about you that you didn't like, right? In order to, again, fix it. The app helps you with that, because I feel like there's, I can't talk to my significant other about every single thing, right? And it's not that I can't talk to her about it. It's just, it might not be a complete understanding. But to have a community on this app, and I already can tell just from the discussions I have about, hey, what suggestions do you have? It can go somewhere. So, but it also takes a community, doesn't it?
Yes.
Right? To enable each other.
Yes.
Because, and you're a wise man, but I don't think you have all the answers.
Oh.
So in there, between a lot of different guys on there, looking after each other and having that circle of trust and truth and confidentiality, you're able to work out some things. My son, I'm okay talking. He was diagnosed very early with epilepsy, and it caused cognitive delays, so he wasn't learning as fast. So we put a buttload of money into a private school in Calgary that pretty much 2 years ago, when he's going into grade 10, we're like, we can't serve him anymore. He's not learning at the pace he should. And we're like, why didn't you tell us this many years ago when we could have put the effort in? So it was discerning for that, for sure. Now, the light at the end of the tunnel is we found a school in the Okanagan that will give them a little bit more specialized help. It was another sign that's saying, you need to come here. So where we were worried about not being able to support them in that way. So it's like, okay, now we have to give up our goal because our son, and we're more than happy to do that because our kids are everything, right? But then we were able to find a school. And then it was like, well, where's our daughter going to go? She's a genius. She can go anywhere. Okay, well, great. So everything just kind of fell into place. Why? Because we had such a driving force. That was a goal of my wife and I, right? Now, also in those decisions was the goals of me. Am I able to still accomplish some of the goals I want?
Right.
Yeah, because mine's more related to development, not geography. Right.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, coming here, we develop new goals. So it's not, and goals to a certain extent become cliche. It's just, what do you want to accomplish? Right? You can say I want $1 million, but if somebody comes to me and says, what are your goals? I want $1 million. To do what? Because if you have $1 million in the bank or $1 in the bank, what's that going to do for you?
Yes.
What would you do with that money? Okay, now start putting the plan together.
What comes to me a little bit too with what you're talking about is that, and this is for the guys that, we, believe it or not, we're actually at a place where we're going to start wrapping up here. I told you it was going to go quick.
Wow.
But what you were talking about, brings up the phrase to me, that old adage, sometimes a blessing comes like a kick in the teeth,
Yeah.
and there are people who, unfortunately, they grow up in a place where their vision is so staggeringly limited. They grow up in a place where they think they're trapped, when if they just lived, literally, if they're in a big city, 37 blocks that way, they live 40 blocks that way. Their entire existence would be completely different, but they're so, I used the word claustrophobic before. They're so closed in that the idea of moving even 37 blocks is too big of an undertaking to even imagine. And I think about, somebody who wants to live somewhere else. You guys are in a different part of the country. You want to live in the Okanagan, which makes a lot of sense. And if for our viewers who don't know where we're from yet, the Okanagan Valley in Canada is some would say the crown jewel of Canada in many ways. I certainly would. But that seems so big. And then suddenly, okay, special needs child and layoff and these things that sometimes people just get so, oh man, hijacked by. You kind of looked at it and said, okay, well, how does this fit into the overall goal? How can we make a bigger goal happen because of these things that happen? And again, sometimes the blessing comes like a kick in the teeth. And I think isn't it all, just to close up here, isn't it all just a matter of perspective?
I think when you understand what the important things are, my earliest recollections of our family are sleeping on the floor, right? It was dad, mom, brother, and me. And understanding that those are the important things. We didn't know we were doing without. So if you can't, and I'm as well, I don't think of myself as better than anyone. I don't think of myself as less than anyone.
Right. That's not what it's about.
No, I think it's a matter of, if you really truly want to accomplish something, you don't make the excuses of why. The why you can't do it is really more just because you don't want to. I don't think impossible, with the amount of things that we've seen and we've been able to accomplish. It's like, when my son was growing up, he's like, no, it's impossible. I'm like, if somebody's done it, it's not impossible.
Right.
Right. He's like, well, can I dunk? I'm like, okay, that's impossible.
You know what? I keep buying pairs of Air Jordans because I know one of them is going to be that set that allows me to be able to dunk. I know it.
If you glue them together, you'll be tall enough.
Is that what it is? Okay, I'll look into that.
Awesome.
I just appreciate you so much, and it's fun here. Waxing philosophical. You have come off as Yoda-esque, and I don't know if there's a bigger compliment I can give somebody, considering my affection for the Star Wars. I love the Star Wars a lot. But thank you so much for taking time to share some of your insights.
Thank you.
Here on the podcast, but also in the app, and we do appreciate that as we are building this. I know Candy has a huge regard for you, and she would say, she probably regards you more than she regards me sometimes. And you would be her favorite too. I know that. Please take her regards from me as well.
Absolutely.
And gratefulness that you are part of this journey with us and with He Changed It and all of these things. We just appreciate the heck out of you. I can't wait till the next time I get a chance to see you in the flesh and we get to hang out and talk a little wrestling. But Bib, thank you for being part of the He Changed It community. For those out there who want to interact with Bib, he is part of that community. If you want to help us beta test it, like I said, go to hechangedit.com. We are in an amazing place right now because there's so many things that are going to be built into the app. But this magical time is when people come in and say, hey, well, what about this? And they come up with an idea that we haven't thought of yet.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I mean Candy and Shannon. They're the ones doing and Joel. They're the ones doing the real work. But Bib, I just appreciate you so much. And you have anything that you want to say before we sign off?
Oh, the feeling is absolutely mutual. The feelings I have for you and Candace. No, I will. You'll see me in the app. Please let me know if I'm being too much.
Not possible.
But I will be taking just as much and hopefully contributing as well. So thank you for having me on. It was quick, yeah. But I really enjoyed myself, and it was really good to catch up with you, Mike.
I appreciate it. Won't be the last time. We've got so many rabbit holes that we could go way deep down. This was just a preliminary one, and just appreciate the heck out of you, buddy. Thank you so much. Bib Patel, thank you for taking time out of your day. I don't know if I got anything else to say except for we just appreciate everything that you all are doing, those in the He Changed It community. If this is your first time kind of seeing what it is that we do, please feel free to subscribe to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify or on Apple, or you're watching on the YouTube video. The videos that we put up on YouTube are just clips of the podcast. You can watch the podcast in long form on Apple or Spotify on your favorite devices. HeChangedIt.com, beta test underway. Thank you so much for being a part of this. For heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It, I am Mike Chisholm. Have a fantastic day.